because as we get there, you might notice something. It's Javokir Sindarov, who's got a very favored board state here. The question is, can he be the first one to deliver a loss to Magnus Carlsen here in Las Vegas?
Wow, this is a crazy position. This has really exploded. I'm just going to very quickly take us back while Javokir thinks, and I'll take us back around half a dozen moves or so to a very congested board. Magnus, though, has been pushing pawns in front of his own king. The white king here very open and not approved of by the computer. Bishop takes knight, a mistake as well. Giving up bishops in open positions seems counterintuitive, but this move was what Magnus had missed. The black knight coming to the corner to defend his rook. Maybe Magnus thought the rook was trapped, but a few moves down the line, we see some exchanges, a check, hitting the white king, and to catch up with the live position, this is where we stand. The black rook has just kicked the white queen even further away and sacrifices itself for the white knight. White's attack is dead, and now Magnus, his other knight, is dropping off. It will be a rook in return for bishop and knight. That material imbalance we saw earlier in the day.
Wow, this is amazing to watch. And Sindarov with the classic piece twirl there. He's feeling the pressure that he's built up. He's up on the material. And let's not forget, Magnus is king under fire as well, with the two open diagonals and the queen ready to line up with one of the bishops. I think it's going to be Magnus Carlsen's king that's going to be in far more danger than its black's counterpart, currently defended with that knight on h8. Knight on h8, no checkmate. And the pawn on g7, keeping everything defended as well. Javokir, will he be the first to beat the world #1?
And if he were to do it, he would actually move himself up right above him in the standings. Up to 2.5 points he would go with a victory here. Magnus Carlsen giving a think, deciding, I guess, whether to take the pawn or, yeah, to lock it out in that sense. But that does mean it could be a persistent threat later in the game.
The big question is, can Magnus still castle from the starting position?
Oh, great question there. And
is that possible? David's doing a quick check.
He's doing a quick, yeah, David's doing a quick scroll through all the moves to make sure that king hasn't moved prior.
It can still go this way.
Oh my
White
gosh,
king.
so that's a defensive resource that Magnus has.
So if the opponent here, if Sindarov tries to throw everything at the white king on this flank, the white king might be able to run to the other side of the board, if I'm not mistaken here. Wow, that is a really important detail to remember. And let's watch out for that white king shooting all the way across. Still doesn't look entirely safe yet on that side of the board, but something that's easy to forget for the opponent.
And why that's so important is because once the black queen lands on those dark squares and is looking at checks on the right side of the board, you need an escape route for the white king. So that's going to be super important for Magnus, that he can just run away across, also placing his own rook on an open D line, targeting a weakness in black's camp. Sindarov does the right thing. He brings all the forces to the party into play, improving the knight's position, blocking out any check the white queen was threatening on e8, so freeing up his own queen from the back rank defense.
And Tanya, I was curious in this position. White's best move is to castle. Has Magnus remembered the rules of freestyle chess? That also allows the white rook later to use the square vacated by the white king.
Did you see that? David, you're the hand expert, I know, in the studio. He almost reached out for the king.
Yeah, he's going for it. He's hesitating.
What would be holding him back? Nothing. Nothing is holding him back from it. That's the answer. He finds the move. What an incredible resource to be found. You got to wonder if Javokir Sindarov had forgotten about that. Still advantaged in this position with a bishop and a knight to his name for the rook of his opponent.
But suddenly it's no longer one-way traffic. This white rook has a two-move threat. If you slide across, you combine with your bishop on the long diagonal. This is just a knockout blow. The black king only has its knight as a shield, as a defender. White already has a queen and bishop attacking, and joined by a rook, that could prove deadly. Apparently black here has only one move to maintain the advantage, and I'm going to say it's not an obvious one.
Queen to e8.
I mean, I'm trying to also guess.
Second best move is
Nice
queen
spot.
e8? Okay, yeah. I was thinking because you're setting up just to bring the dark squared bishop out to defend that diagonal.
Great.
That's why I'm doing that.
Great move.
But it's not the best move. So, Tanya, can you do one better?
I am struggling, actually. I'm impressed with queen e8 because David pointed out rook g1. There's also the idea of lining up the rook with the white queen. And is this the best move found by Javokir Sindarov?
It is. We see the exclamation mark appear. By far the best move. The only way to keep the advantage for black there. And he's going on the counterattack. So he's basically going for a race. He's abandoning the defense of his own king, but he knows that the black queen on its own can create a lot of damage.
That's incredible. It feels so counterintuitive to be moving away from the threats.
But it's full board awareness, right? He realizes that there's this square that gives him this counterplay, and he's going for those weakened pawns right now, just not giving Magnus enough time to line up his rook on either the G line or the H line. Love this play by Javakhir. Queen to A6, gets awarded the exclamation mark. That's a good move right there.
Great move, and Magnus has hesitated. Only 20 seconds on the clock, though, for the world number one. Two of his pawns are hit simultaneously with the check. Magnus hesitating. He was about to move his rook. I think that's the most natural move, to slide it across and just go for the black king. But it takes a lot of guts. As Wesley So lurking in the background watching. The rook slides. Magnus is threatening checkmate within a couple of moves himself. Can Sindarov deal with it?
And that's the big question, right? Because yes, the obvious response here, if you're black, is you pick up that c-pawn with a check. But Sindarov needs to find the follow-up. What happens when Magnus slides his king away, as he does right now? Does Sindarov have anything better than the checks that are possible on the board, allowing Magnus to at least escape for a draw? What happens here? Does he keep checking? Or will Sindarov find the winning defensive resource here? Because rook takes pawn is a massive threat.
Yeah, and as we know, if you give Magnus just that 1 second to breathe, right? You give him that one opening where he can equalize the game and then start inching it back ever so slowly in his favor, like we saw him do against Vincent Keimer in our show opener today. That's the thing that's got to be eaten at the back of Javakhir's mind right now, while he does know it's his for the taking.
But that's the big question. Does he know that it's his for the taking? We have the evaluation bar telling us, but if you're playing black right now, you're also looking at all these ideas against your own king, right? That g-pawn is super tender. White's queen beautifully placed for the attack. The rook, bishop, and the queen ready to strike in. How much of an advantage does Javakhir believe he has is what will determine what he'll play for. He might just give checks and bail out at this moment. Or will he find the defensive resource? And what is that resource, David?
The defensive resources might be based on some checks, but then it's very cold-bloodedly running away with the black king. I don't think that's findable. Like, just to walk out, even allow some checks on the way. First, you should maybe reposition the black queen to better squares, but to run away with the black king, I think, is just impossible with 20 seconds left on the clock for Sindarov.
Yeah, and he is eating through his time right now, down to just the teens. Does make a move. He will slide the queen over, looking for the check. Now he infiltrates
And
with
look at
support
that.
of the
He's
pawn.
repeating. This is what I was talking about. But he changes his mind now. He gains those extra 10 seconds on the clock per move. And head in hand, he's trying to figure it out. Can he run with that king? And will he play for more against Magnus Carlsen?
Last moment. This is the only way you can play for a win now, to run away with the black king before you start getting checked. The whole idea is that if the white rook then jumps up the board, you leave yourself abandoned on the back rank. But Sindarov, only a few seconds left. Surely he's going to bail out now. It just feels impractical to go for more.
Is that the only move in the position that keeps the advantage? The king
Yes.
slide?
The only move. If you check again with the queen, it's going to repeat itself, the position.
Whoa, he's reaching for the bishop.
Okay. And there you go. Right, just like that, the eval bar goes right back to zeros, and now we're in danger territory.
And Magnus takes the pawn with his bishop, not with the rook. Taking with the rook would have left you up a dead end, but taking with the bishop sets up a check. And now Sindarov checking himself, but there's nowhere else to go. I think you have to keep checking with the black queen. The white bishop covers the diagonal, and Sindarov looks to the heavens. He looks frustrated. I think he's about to bail out with the draw now.
Because there's nothing else to be done. That's why the king slide was important. You needed the time to run away with your king to the other side, which is now in the kill zone for white, threatening to fall back with the bishop. Sindarov, you can see it on his face. He realizes there's nothing better to be done than to repeat. He gets the draw, but it's not the result he wanted.
Yeah, most players would trade an arm for